Hi there and welcome back. In this video, we will be learning how to answer the 12-mark questions. Now, you'll have to understand that the marking of the 12-mark question is a little more complex than what we have seen in the paper 1 questions and for the 8-marker in paper 2. Some fundamentals are as follows. Now, you will be given marks for application, and the application rules apply the same way as in the previous questions that we have seen so far. And you will be marked for analysis either as L1 or L2. Now, L1 stands for level 1 and L2 is level 2. Now, what marks you gain will depend on the level of detail that your analysis has. So, L1 is not a preferred analysis that you should be aiming for. L2 is what you should be aiming for. This will mean that you have explained the concept thoroughly and have given the end impact of that particular concept on the business or stakeholders. So that's a thorough analysis. Now, L3 stands for the justification you would be giving in this last component where there's a conclusion or a recommendation. Now, this 12-mark question is something like the E questions of paper 1. In fact, I would call those E questions a watered-down version of this 12-mark question, where several options would be analyzed in detail and a final recommendation given. Now, before we go further, I'll just go over the mark scheme with you. I know I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritties of this mark scheme, but let's see how much I can let you know how it is graded. If you are aiming for a 12-mark full, which you should be, you need to attempt 3 L2 statements, 3 level 2 analysis statements, which will fetch you 6 marks. You need to have 2 applications in the answer, which will fetch you 2 marks. But I would say you attach an application with every analysis, so your analysis are really sound. And finally, you would need to give 4 justifications for your final recommendation, and I'll go into detail as to how you can achieve that once we get into the examples. All right. Now, if you've only left your answers with level 1 statements without going into detailed analysis with the end impact, then you will not get the 6 marks here. You would probably earn a maximum of 3 or 4 marks depending on whether your answer has only L1 statements or does it have only one L2 statement and the rest of them are L1 statements, and whether you have application or no application, your answer might not fetch more than 5 marks. And the other aspect you will have to bear in mind is, even though you have written 4 clear justifications here and you think you qualify for 4 L3 marks, you will not be eligible for any L3 marks if your answer initially does not have at least 2 L2 statements. So that is a minimum requirement for you to access marks for the level 3 also, right? So while you understand that this is complex, I would just suggest that you focus on this mark scheme. Just focus on getting 3 L3 statements, focus on getting 2 applications and 4 L3, and you're home and dry. All right, now let's start with the first example that you're seeing here. Again, in the interest of time, I have not included the case study here, but please do refer to the June 2021 series and the variant 21. That's the case study from which this question has been taken. Now consider the following 3 problems for FO, that is the company as it grows through takeovers. Which problem will be the easiest for FO to overcome? And they've given 3 different problems. And this is a typical 12-marker where you have 3 different points to discuss. So if you manage a clear L2 statement for each of these with application, you would have covered most of the requirement, and all it needs is you to justify the recommendation. All right, so the suggested answer for this: more difficult to control the business. So explaining that, of course, most of this answer is drawn from details given in the case study, so it will make more sense to you once you read the case study also. So here I have written the employees will be spread across 3 factories. So this 3 factories is the application here, making it difficult to communicate quickly to everyone, making the process less efficient. More supervisors would need to be hired to monitor work, which will also help reduce the problem of communication. However, this will increase the costs and reduce profit. So a couple of good aspects of controlling the business in this current scenario has been discussed here, and that earns a proper L2. And of course, please note that each of these statements have a clear end impact also. The second point of lack of finance. The previous 2 takeovers were funded by reinvesting profits, and as such they might not have too much left for future expansion. Application here would be the reinvesting profits given in the case study. FO could take a loan, but this would increase costs of repayment. Being a private limited company, they also have limited access to capital, making it difficult to finance the takeovers. Alright, so sound analysis here, again earning L2 mark. The employees of the companies that FO takes over, now this would be an additional application which will not earn you mark, but at least adds more value to your analysis. Takeover might not find FO's leadership easy to work with, leading to demotivation and drop in productivity. The leadership of FO would need to invest more in training and orientation to reduce resistance to change and improve output. This will cost more in the short term, right? Again, detailed analysis. Now a final decision has to be made as to which is the most solvable, the easiest to solve problem. And here I have chosen controlling the business can be most easily solved by using technology to communicate. So I have given a reason why I think it's not a big problem, or it's the easiest to solve. And before I go further, just remember that you can choose any option. There is no hard and fast rule. There is no right or wrong answer. The only thing the examiner would be looking for is very clear analysis, logical justification and analysis, right? So here I'm saying that this is easily solved by using technology to communicate, and also hiring more supervisors who can be met regularly to ensure uniformity in operations. So 2 reasons why I'm saying that controlling the business is easier. Finance is difficult to raise as FO is a private limited company and has limited access to funds, and cultural clashes are difficult to solve as they are ingrained in old businesses, right? So I'm justifying why I'm rejecting those 2 offers. Now, make sure that all your justifications lead from the previous analysis. Don't throw in something completely new there. And while you are making your recommendation here, don't get into an explanation mode all over again. Now, by chance you get into explaining something which has not already been explained, it might just end up getting an L2 mark and not an L3. All right. Now, before we go to the next example, now I have mentioned to you L1 and L2. What would have been an L1 here? Now, all these statements that I have put here have been well explained, so all qualify for L2 marks. Now look at this. If I had, let's say, just left this at more supervisors would need to be hired and not gone ahead to explain how that would help, that would have earned just an L1 mark. All right. So that's just an example of how something can just be left midway, where you've just about stated the concept but not explained it further. Now that would just be marked as L1. All right. So I'll show you 2 other formats of these 12 mark questions in a bit. Let's look at the second example, which I have taken from the June 23 series, and the variant is 21. So please read that before you're able to see this answer, so that you're able to connect this better. In this format of this 12 mark question, unlike the previous one which gave you 3 separate points to discuss, you only have 2 here, where they've asked you to consider the benefits and limitations of the following 2 ways VP can enter a new market in another country. Which way should VP choose, and justify your answer. So only joint venture and franchising. Now remember that we need 3 level 2 statements, 2 applications and 4 level 3 statements. That's the justification. Now when you have only 2 points to discuss, a good approach would be to get a solid advantage, a solid disadvantage, which would each score L2 marks, and the same for both these points. So you will eventually have 4 level 2 statements, but that's okay. You're at least making sure that you get the minimum 3 required for in order to score full marks. So here I have gone ahead to explain the advantage of joint venture. The business with which VP enters into a joint venture is familiar with the local market of the other country and will be able to advise the taste in food. Now this is an application because the case study is about restaurants that will sell, thereby increasing sales. The companies will also share investment, which means that VP does not bear the burden of cost alone. So the advantages, a couple of them squeezed together with the end impact of each put together, will get you an L2 there. However, there might be inequality of skills and difference of culture between the 2 companies, leading to lower levels of motivation and thereby lower output, right? Another L2 mark. Sorry I've missed out on marking this L2 down here, but this also gets another L2. Now going with the franchising, by offering franchises to companies in other countries, VP will save a lot of time in opening more fast food restaurants. So fast food restaurants is the application because it's drawn from the case study, and thereby be able to grow faster and increase market share quickly. They also do not have the burden of running the daily operations of these franchises, right? So that's one L2, that's an advantage. However, if even one franchise does not adhere to the quality and taste requirements set by VP, the food will not meet the customer's expectations, leading to damage to VP's reputation. A disadvantage fully explained. Now recommendation, I have gone ahead with recommending joint venture, but you could very well recommend franchising as long as you're able to justify it. So I have said joint venture is a better option for VP as the burden of costs will be shared. The local company would have knowledge of the local taste, leading to better product decisions. So 2 justifications here. A franchise is not a good choice as they are more difficult to control and monitor. 1 justification. And also a mistake of any franchise could lead to a damage to VP's reputation and loss in sales. 2nd justification. Right? So that gives us the 12 marks. Let's go on to a 3rd category that you might find these 12 marks coming your way.